Hey guys, this is Ryan, aka YourDoom for YourDoomPoker.com. What I want to do here is to make a short highlight video to show you some of the new features and some of the great features of our July 2015 HUD release. So I am just going to show you a few quick highlights in this video. If you are an actual customer, if you are using this HUD, if you want more detailed information, there is now a new video inside each one of my courses, which is a longer, more detailed video about how to use every stat and every feature of this HUD. And of course, there is a ton of written documentation in the download package when you go ahead and download this HUD. So first things first, if you are playing No Limit Cash, you may be asking, well, do I really need to upgrade my HUD? Do I really need all these cool features, bells and whistles? And my answer would be yes, absolutely you do. Learning and using an advanced HUD like this one is equally important, in my opinion, to just actually knowing how to play poker and improving your poker game. So in about 1 minute, I'm going to start showing you some of the features of this HUD. And if you're seeing some of these things for the first time, maybe you didn't know some of these features were even possible, then hopefully you do decide to join our community and upgrade to this HUD and learn this HUD. And if you do that, then I promise, today will be the first day of the rest of your new poker life. It's absolutely critical to have the best technology in poker today. Poker today is all about information, having that information at your fingertips, and more importantly, knowing how to use that information. In poker, like in war or any battle, whoever has the best technology is going to win, or at least be at a huge advantage. Imagine if you could take a fleet of tanks and drones into war and fight against an army that uses spears and arrows. It doesn't matter if that army has the best warriors or the best generals and the best minds, they're still going to be at a huge disadvantage and very likely to lose that battle. So there's a competing product out there. The only HUD that I would actually consider a competition to this one. It does sell for $1,000 if you're playing high stakes. Mine sells for $0. I actually give this HUD out for free to all course members, so all you have to do is buy any one of my courses and you can download this HUD for free. So why would I possibly give out this HUD for free if it's one of the best ones on the market and it's worth a lot of money? Well, honestly, if I was starting over fresh today, I would not do that, because I think I could maximize, I'm a businessman, I could definitely maximize my potential profits by selling this HUD separately. But what happened is I started selling videos about 4 years ago, and back then my HUD was very basic. Hold'em Manager 1 HUD was pretty basic, and as a courtesy, I promised everyone who bought my video series, I said, hey, if you want to get a copy of my HUD, just let me know, I'll give it to you for free. And then if I upgrade it, I'll send you the new package, no problem. So what happened, I didn't realize at the time, but what happened is over the next 4 years, technology has grown substantially, and I've spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars on custom stats, and stats you're only going to find in this HUD. They were custom created for me. To my knowledge, they're not anywhere else in the world. Unless you get this package. Also, just so many hours. I play poker for a living. I need the best HUD. I need the best information. I need the most relevant stats. And I need it to be close to perfect as I can get it. So, hopefully you're familiar with my results. You know what I do at the tables. And certainly a portion of those winnings are because of this HUD, and because of the time and money I've spent developing this HUD package. So I did have a dilemma about 1.5 years ago when I realized what I had here. I had a decision to make if I'm going to continue to give out this package for free, or kind of reverse my policy and say, hey, now everyone new has to purchase this HUD separately. So what I decided, though, even though I'm probably not maximizing my profits, I do want to stick to my word. That's more important to me than profits anyway. I don't want to lie to my customer base. I don't want to tell them, hey, I'll give you my HUD forever, and then not do that. So I'm going to stick to it. And if you buy any one of my No Limit Hold'em series, you can download this HUD for free, and as well as all future technology upgrades as they come over the next several years. So if you do decide to join the community, you can absolutely download this HUD. If you don't believe me, if you're skeptical, if you're not sure you're getting awesome value by doing that, try it for yourself. Like I always say, all of my courses come with a full 30-day money-back guarantee. Try a course, try the HUD. If you don't like it, let me know. You get all your money back. So enough about that. Let's get into some of the features of the HUD. First things first, you don't have to spend hours and hours researching which stats you want to use, which stats are important, because I already know that, and they're already here. If it's stats very important, it's on the main HUD. Like I said, this is just a quick highlight video, so I'm not going to go through what all these numbers are. But you can rest assured that if it's on the HUD, it's very useful, and then if you join the community, I'll tell you why it's useful and how to use it and how to just completely devastate your opponents with this information. So basically what this HUD is anything your opponent does, any line he takes, any sizing he makes, any bet he makes, you will have very detailed information about what he does, what hands he does that with, what hands he takes that line with. Maybe he has a sizing tell when he bets full pot, half pot, 80% pot, whatever. And to put that, show you that visually, here's a hand. What happened is I open from the small blind. Oh, and by the way, I try to use very, very old hands for these HUD videos because I don't want to out anybody's screen name. I try to use like this is actually from 2009. This hand. So it's kind of cool. It's like looking back in time to hands I played 6.5 years ago. It's kind of cool to look back on really old hands with new technology. But anyway, this is a quick example, simple example. So we go ahead and bet. This player calls. For some reason, I decide to check call the turn. So this player just bet versus miss c-bet on the turn. So he does that 49% of the time, which I can see here. And then we have an interesting decision on the river. We check, and he barrels again. So I'm sure you're in a situation several times yourself, and all kinds of situations where you're like, well, I wonder what he does that with. What type of hands does he do that with? I mean, would he bet that ace as the bluff? Does he only do that for value? This section here is bet versus miss c-bet. So everything regarding bet versus miss c-bet, I click on it, and I get a pop-up. And this will tell me everything I want to know about any possible situation of anyone betting versus miss c-bet. So more so than just these percentages, like this player bets 59% on the flop versus miss c-bet, 49 on the turn, 57 on the river. This will give me much more detailed information about, well, what hands does he bet on the flop? Well, here. So if he bets versus miss c-bet on the flop, heads up situation. This just gives you a breakdown of all the hands he bets. If you want more detailed information than that, if you want a quick view, you look at this spark graph. If you want more detailed information, you can actually hover over each individual hand. Like I see, well, he bet close to full pot one time, and he actually had second pair. Weird. So you have caddy scatters and you have spark graphs for every situation. Bet versus miss c-bet in each street. But even more so what about this particular hand? So he bet the turn. I see he's generally pretty strong when he bets versus miss c-bet on the turn. But what about when he bets versus miss c-bet on the turn and then bets the river? So this bottom one here, if he bets versus miss c-bet on the turn and then bets the river, he's very, very strong when he does that. He only does that for value. You can go over these dots here. So he's very, very strong, almost nutted when he barrels twice. So this applies to this exact hand. So if I had this information when I played this hand 6.5 years ago, I would look at this and say, he's very strong, he does not bluff this spot, I'm going to go ahead and fold. But obviously I didn't even use a HUD in 2009. I'm going to call in this case. I'm going to waste $90 because there's really no hand in his range I can beat. So that's a $90 mistake that could have been avoided with a little bit better technology. So that's the level of detail and the level of information you can expect from virtually any line that your opponent can take. Some of the brand new features, for example, and again, I mean, these are also, I want to point out, these are in panels, so you can move these around, like fit them on your screen a little bit easier. If you can move these around, I broke it into 4 different panels. You can customize this as well any way you want it. There's too much information to start. I mean, it's going to be a significant learning curve for you to start. You'll probably start using just a few of the stats, then you'll add some in every day until you understand this HUD completely. It's going to take a little bit of time. So a couple of the new cool features here, like this one, I mean, some are more important than others, but I found myself recently saying this is actually really good for fish. If I click here, sometimes you notice a fish will min raise a certain spot, or he'll 3x it, and he'll use different sizings, and you make notes like, oh, well, he had jacks when he made it 4x. So I was like, well, enough speculating. I want to know exactly what these players have when they do that. So here I have. Well, it's not going to be as interesting. This player was a reg back in the day. So it tells you what percent he opens different sizings from early position, middle position, cutoff, and then as a separate category I have button. And then you can also look at the actual hands. Like this player opens 3x in the button with these hands, so it seems kind of randomized in this case. But a lot of players have very significant tells. If they're opening certain hands with certain sizings, I always say, like, understanding their range preflop is incredibly important. So the more information we can have about that, the better. So that's just one new feature that you're really unlikely to find anywhere else. Another one is this. Here I have fold to steal with different sizings. So the main one I want to talk about, the most useful one here, is when you're in the small blind, you're stealing your opponent's big blind. How do they react to different sizings? So this player folds to min, actually only folds 4% of the time to a min steal. That's kind of interesting. But when you increase it, he folds a little bit more. So some players have very, very significant leaks here. And this is important information because if you really need to dial into the optimal steal sizing for each opponent, because this is something you're doing literally hundreds of times every session. So if you can save half a big blind 100 times a session, it's really, really going to add up very quickly. So some players have very significant leaks. So maybe they fold way too much to a min steal. I have opponents now that fold over 50% to min steal. So I can just min steal against that opponent all day with my whole range. Or maybe they fold to a very high percentage from some other sizing. So again, I'm not aware of anyone else that uses this other than me and players who use this package. But this is really significant. I think you save a lot of money knowing that certain opponents may fold to certain sizings. So here's another pop-up. Here I have a caddy scatter for 5-bet 99 big blinds effective. So this is a custom stat. It's not just 5-bet. It's an actual, like a real 5-bet. Like with 100 big blind stacks, and the actual sizings have to be like a real 5-bet, because I think a lot of these stats get screwed up in Hold'em match, especially like the 3-bet and 4-bet stuff when you're facing like a fish min 3-bet. Like your fold to 3-bet's going to not really be realistic, or your fold to 4-bet, if a fish clicks it back, isn't going to be realistic, and the stats kind of get warped. So I do as much as I can to avoid that and use much more realistic stats with. So this only counts 5-bets with full stack sizing. So here, the caddy scatter is useful too, because if someone has a min 5-bet, like maybe you play against an opponent and you 4-bet him and he clicks it back with a min 5-bet, well, and you're like, oh, I have no idea what he does that with. Well, now you would, because you would come here, and I actually played against an opponent the other day. It was kind of interesting. I had 4-bet ace king pre-flop, ready to snap call shove, obviously. But he actually min 5-bet. So I pulled this up, and I saw that he had 8 min 5-bets in the caddy scatter, and all of them were aces and kings. 8 out of 8 aces and kings. So I actually folded to ace king with that level of information. That's something I never would have been able to do without the detail in this HUD. I also have this HUD laid out in a very, very useful, usable, I should say, and intuitive way. For example, it's always one pop-up per situation. So in the past, in like really old versions that weren't as good of this HUD, like when someone 3-bet me, for example, I would go to a pop-up and say, okay, well, what percent does he 3-bet me? Okay, what if I choose the 4-bet? So I go to a different pop-up and it says what he does versus 4-bet, and then I go, well, what if I call? Then I would go to a different pop-up and say, how often he's going to barrel C-bet and 3-bet pot. But I found that to be a little ridiculous over time, so I got the idea that it's much more useful to just have one pop-up in every hand. So if I'm facing a 3-bet, for example, I would just go here, and this looks kind of large. This is actually the largest pop-up, but it has everything I need to know about facing a 3-bet. So it has what ranges he 3-bets each position with. It has, if I call, what to expect, like how often he's going to fold to a raise, how often he's going to barrel. If he triple barrels, that's down here. If he triple barrels, what does he have? Don't have a huge sample on this player, but everything I need to know about playing this one hand is in one pop-up, because it's not really realistic when you're multi-tabling, especially, to have to go to multiple pop-ups. And you should not have to go to multiple pop-ups in the same hand. So the whole point is, the whole gist of this is, everything is laid out very correctly, very intuitively. You'll have devastatingly detailed information about everything your opponent has or has had in the previous situations. any line he could take, any ranges he's playing. It's a little ridiculous to the point where you can almost know what his cards are most of the time. So I'm going to end the video here. This was just a short highlight video. I only showed you maybe 3 or 4 of the maybe 100 features of this HUD. But if you do decide to buy a course, if you do decide to come into the community, there's a much longer video inside the actual courses, and also tons of documentation. It will be a little bit of a learning curve, but it's well worth it if you want to succeed at a very high level in poker. If you're committed to doing that, I think learning this new HUD is a big part of that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.